We're looking at 10 inspiring real-life superheroes who made an impact despite their disabilities.
Number 10, Michael J. Fox. This Canadian-born actor is one of the most famous and beloved celebrities across the globe, entertaining us with roles involving time travel, talking animals, werewolves, ghosts, and many more. In 1991, when Michael was only 29 with his career in full success, he was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, which is a movement disorder where the dopamine-producing neurons in the brain undergo degeneration. Most of the times, there is no known cause for this progressive disease, which gets more common with age. He didn't reveal his condition until 7 years later.
Since then, he has semi-retired due to complications from Parkinson's and has become an advocate for charity work for the disease, raising over $250 million.
After more than 25 years and with the disease in a very advanced stage, Michael J. Fox still continues to maintain his spirit of improvement and entertain us with his amazing performances. Number 9, Rowan Atkinson. Rowan Atkinson is a comedy legend, entertaining an entire generation of fans through his work in slapstick, a genre of comedy that focuses on exaggerated physical movements and over-the-top scenarios. If you look at Rowan's entire career as a whole, it gives you a valuable perspective of his speech impediment condition, as the characters he portrays can barely utter comprehensible words, let alone complete sentences. However, this stuttering condition did not limit his acting talent by any means. Rather, he combined his condition with over-articulated body movements, for which he is most famous.
At present, he has overcome this condition and continues to entertain millions of fans through his work.
Number 8, Jim Carrey. Like Rowan Atkinson, Jim Carrey needs no real introduction. He is another master of the art form known as slapstick, and probably, at times, has made you laugh your lungs out. That's why it's a lot harder to believe that for many years this goofy actor has been battling depression. While growing up with an ailing mother and an unemployed father, Carrey's humor was born out of desperation. He had to work full-time and was constantly bullied to the point of depression. To cope with the depression, he has surrounded himself with spirituality, making sure he stays true to himself through self-reflection and meditation. Jim now very publicly shares his journey with depression and that he no longer cares about playing the character everyone wants to see. He's much happier doing what he wants.
Because the first thing everybody needs to be happy is self-love, and no one should feel forced to wear a mask.
Number 7, Michael Phelps. Michael Phelps is the single most decorated Olympian of all time, having won 28 medals across his illustrious career. However, Michael's life has not always been about breathtaking highs, it's also been about unfathomable lows. As a child, managing his school and swimming regime was especially difficult for Phelps, since he struggled to stay focused, primarily owing to attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. ADHD is a mental health disorder that includes a combination of persistent problems, such as difficulty paying attention, hyperactivity, and impulsive behavior.
In an interview, Phelps said that he has struggled with ADHD and depression for many years, especially after the 2012 Summer Olympics.
He, however, has shunned Ritalin, a drug usually used to control ADHD symptoms. Instead, he focuses on having a healthy mind and body. As ADHD gives him the ability to hyperfocus or multitask when he is really into something, some experts point to his achievements as an illustration of how ADHD can be a real asset for certain people. Number 6, Mark Zuckerberg. Though many people don't know this, Facebook founder and investor Mark Zuckerberg is actually colorblind. You might think this is any other disease, but in fact, colorblindness is actually not a disease. It's simply the decreased ability to see colors or differentiate between them. It's officially considered a disability. Colorblindness affects a large number of people. Approximately 1 in every 12 men and 1 in 200 women are colorblind. It can significantly affect people in their regular life. For example, while picking groceries, and differentiating traffic signals, posing substantial risks.
As for Mark, he is red-green colorblind, which means that the color that he can see best is blue, which, of course, dominates the Facebook layout.
Number 5. Richard Branson. It is widely believed that the symptoms associated with ADHD can actually be very beneficial to entrepreneurs who are engaged in startups. The career of the Virgin Group founder Richard Branson certainly exhibits this. Branson revealed he has both ADHD and dyslexia from an early age and had virtually no understanding of schoolwork whatsoever. He ultimately dropped out of school at the age of 16, and by the age of 22, he, along with his business partners, had already established the basis for the massively successful Virgin Group, the Virgin Records chain.
Because of the illustrious success of the Virgin Group, Richard Branson has managed to assemble a fortune of over $4 billion.
Like many billionaires, he has been able to create quite the lifestyle for himself and plans to spend most of his time setting up non-for-profit organizations to address some of the biggest problems in the world. With that, it's safe to say that Branson's ADHD has panned out pretty well for him. Number 4. Nick Vujicic. Maybe you don't know much about Nick, but you probably have heard about a guy with no limbs. Nick Vujicic was born in 1982 with no arms or legs, and as a child, he suffered ridicule and discrimination, nonstop bullying, and depression. Vujicic often talks about a time in which he was so deep in the throes of his body-related despair that he found himself completely robbed of the will to live. Today, Nick has pretty much overcome his disability and enjoys his life to the fullest. He has a beautiful wife, a caring family, and a wonderful career in motivational speaking.
It's safe to say that Nick has climbed over every obstacle that life has put in his way and continues to thrive in an inspiring fashion.
Number 3. Helen Keller. Helen Keller was born with full sight and hearing, yet at 19 months she was stricken with what at the time was called the brain fever, leaving her both blind and deaf. Famously tutored by Annie Sullivan, this young American woman was the first blind and deaf person to ever graduate from college. And that, too, from not just any other college, but from Harvard University. Helen Keller was famous from an early age, but her celebrity increased as she championed the cause of those with disabilities internationally. During her lifetime, she traveled to over 40 countries, bringing hope and courage to millions of people. Most importantly, she was able to change the perception of people with vision loss. Keller was also a crusader for pacifism, the women's right to vote, and birth control, among other causes.
She became an inspiration to millions of people around the world and proved with her activism and her story that people with disabilities can lead a full and rich life.
Number 2. Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking was one of history's most accomplished and famous physicists, and it's all because of him that we know more about black holes, life beyond the stars, and the theory of everything. But we all know life was not an easy journey for this genius scientist. At the age of 21, Hawking was diagnosed with a rare neuromuscular disorder called amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, or ALS. When a person has ALS, their motor neurons, the cells responsible for all voluntary muscle control in the body, lose control and slowly die.
This is also known as Lou Gehrig's disease.
Gradually, Hawking lost his ability to walk, use his hands, and even swallow, and was eventually limited to a chair. But his incredible intellect was never affected. Hawking's case was also a medical marvel because of how long he survived with ALS after diagnosis. Most people with the disease only live between 2 and 5 years, and Hawking was specifically told that he had only 2 years to live. No one knows exactly how Hawking managed to live for so long with ALS, but it's very clear that he was a unique man with a unique and valuable mind.
There are millions, even billions of people in this world who survive and thrive despite any disability that life has put in their way. Number 1 is remarkable. But first, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up, click subscribe, and sound off in the comments below. Do you have any friends or family who thrive and succeed despite a disability? Be sure to tell their story so that we can appreciate it.
Number 1. Albert Einstein. Albert Einstein is easily the most famous scientist in all of history. And after multiple revolutionary discoveries about the physics of the universe, his very name has become synonymous with genius and at times with mad scientist. Einstein died years before ADHD was officially considered a learning disorder, yet the man with probably the greatest scientific mind ever is considered by experts to have been a proud member of the ADHD club.
It is documented that Einstein did not speak fluently until he was 9. He failed his college entrance exam multiple times, and he had an extremely hard time remembering simple, everyday things.
Truly a gifted mind that was aided by a few kinks, Einstein was possibly the greatest mind to walk the earth in centuries, and truly deserves to be on top of this list.